All right, guys, we're live. What's up, everyone? It is Michael, your host of the Virtual Millionaire Show. I'm coming back to you with another episode, and I have a very special guest with me today. I have with me Mr. Brandon Elliot. What's up, Brandon?
What's up, Michael? How you doing, brother?
Doing great, man. Doing great. I'm so excited to, number one, tell these folks about the credit world and then talk to them about some big, juicy deal that I've teased everyone with, calling you out on it, making
Yeah,
sure that, hey, this is legit. And when I saw it, I'm like, this is unbelievable. But anyway, man, welcome to the show.
yeah, dude. I appreciate you so much for having me, man. It's a crazy market we're in, to say the very least. So it's definitely one of those things. It's like, man, I definitely got to fact check this just in case, but it's legit.
Yes, and that's what we're gonna do here today. But we're gonna tell these people about you, man. This is what it's all about, and about credit. So, kind of give us a little bit of backstory. Like, who is Brandon Elliott, man? How did you get into real estate? How did you get into the credit world? So, kind of take us back.
Yeah, this is a good question. So I'm originally from New Jersey, right? I live in sunny San Diego, California. Really blessed to be out here. But how I got started into real estate was I was doing door-to-door sales with Kirby Vacuum Cleaner at the time. This was back in 2011, 2012, and I was really good at it. I ended up building out a team that kept on moving me up. I was getting a lot of people into appointments, into the doors. So I knocked on one, and it ended up being a real estate investor, and I got kind of pulled from that company into an investment company locally here, and I really just fell in love with it. We were going after NODs at the time, so notice of defaults, a lot of pre-foreclosures back then. It was like, I think like one out of 8 or 9 properties were in pre-foreclosure, so it was really crazy time still. And what I can tell you is that I got a little bit of education, but I got so much more motivation. And that was like the turning point for me. So I saw us helping out a ton of people, a ton of deals like flow coming through, a lot of money, a lot of contracts. It was really inspiring to me. So I ended up going down this path to learn as much as I could on real estate, books, podcasts, YouTube, and podcasts just like this. And it really started like unlocking certain things for me. So I just started, I found the BRRRR strategy. I fell in love with it. And that's what I started really focusing my efforts towards.
That's amazing, man. And what a great story. And I'm sure knocking on doors, you had to be motivated because that's not an easy gig whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm very, I don't know if it's like stubborn or determined or maybe a combination of both, but what I found out is when I would get like a rejection or a no, I would get more excited, and I'm like, man, this next one, the odds are, because it's all just a numbers game. So I just started like playing the numbers in my head of like, dang, I got 7, 10 no's in a row. That's like usually I'm at like 5 or 6, and then I'll get into a door. So I knew it was just a matter of time before the next one, and it was be gold basically. So it was very inspiring for me.
Yeah, man, I can only imagine, and that's what it takes. Like at the end of the day, that's what this game is. It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
Um, but what I'm most excited about, dude, is to talk to you about your experience with not only real estate but also with credit. And what I think is really cool is how you've been able to build up your knowledge and then also be able to help others with this skill set as well.
Yeah.
But what's really cool is how you've been able to do this from San Diego, also what this show is all about is virtually, right? So you've been able to do this and invest in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So I think people are going to get a lot of value from not only that, and then how you've been able to utilize credit for BRRRR, but also the whole credit game. So there's so much to unpack with this. But before we get into that, man, I think there's something really powerful that people should know about your story that may resonate. And you probably know what I'm getting at with this.
Yeah. Dude, I
There's
didn't know
there,
if
there
we
was a
wanted me
there
to
was a
go down that.
life yeah, there was a life altering event, right?
Yeah.
That happened. And I just think that people should maybe know that it's not always perfect getting to where you're at today. So can you touch on something that happened and maybe that was a pivotal moment, if you don't mind?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah. Throw the spotlight on me. It's good. I'm very open about talking about my past, my history, because it can resonate with certain people. the bottom line is I kind of grew up a screw up in many ways, and just misguided at the end of the day. I grew up in New Jersey, single parent mother who's manic depressive, bipolar, or diagnosed that. And so we grew up on Section 8, food stamps, and getting help from the local churches, local schools, and some friends in the area. I have two sisters. So I was the only guy in my household, really. And my mom was just a beast, like very strong willed, woman, and really did the best that she could to raise three misfits at the end of the day. But I met my father when I was 18 in court so he could stop paying child support. And long story short, I put on the role of, because we did grow up, American poor. We definitely have it blessed in America with having so much help. And long story short, I ended up getting into smoking weed, and that was my escape. I used it for good times, bad times, and everything in between. It turned out to be, selling it to my friends, and it turned into just a spiral type of effect that, so I could be able to smoke for free. Then it turned in, it just turned into me taking all the profits that I made because I didn't know where else to spend it, because I wasn't used to spending money. I wasn't used to having money, and I would just pick up as much as I could, getting more. I had an explosion in my apartment in San Diego in 2013, September 25th, 2013. And I was making hash oil in my apartment. I was on fire. I burnt 40% of my body. I had skin just like peeling, melting off my arms, and so it was on my arms and legs, and they induced me into a coma for a full week. I went through 3 surgeries, and over the course of about a month, I had to, at the end, I had to start learning how to walk again. So I wasn't educated at the time that your legs give out so quickly after just a few short weeks in the hospital and not using them. So it was really, it was a traumatic experience, to say the least, and it was very eye-opening. It was exactly what I needed at the time. With my personality type, I'm like, if I would have just got a little slap on the wrist, it wouldn't have changed anything, bottom line. So like, God knew exactly what I needed to be able to take me off that path that I was on, going down a misguided path, and get me onto the right track. And when I was laying up in the hospital, I just felt like this huge guilt and like shame, like the spirit of shame just over my life at the time. And I was like, man, like all these things that I've done and accomplished on the negative side of the track. Can you imagine if I took certain skills like this and didn't need to look over my shoulder, didn't have to have guns or knives to my head on certain occasions, and not having best friends rob my house for, over envy and money and certain things like that. So it was exactly what I needed to be able to get me on the right path, and it allowed me to have a mentor, court appointed at the time, but it was exactly what I needed. I had no idea. I was so ignorant. I was so uneducated on like, hey, there's somebody that actually, would care to give me their time and like tell me about their process, what they've been through, and try to help me avoid some of those same mistakes. I just didn't know. So it was perfect. Long story short, years later, I ended up getting house arrest, a couple years probation. I got 2 felonies, a misdemeanor, but it also allowed me to change my life. And I wrote a book, Action Driven. We have our podcast with over like 50,000 subscribers for the last like 4 years, over 250 episodes, something like that. And we have a nice portfolio over in Ohio doing the BRRRR strategy. Have no money into any of my deals. We do the same BRRRR strategy out here in San Diego, but to make the numbers work, we do Airbnb short-term rentals, and then we do some fix and flips here and there. And we've all done it with credit, which is very unique, I think. And because I just didn't have money at the time. So I figured out other ways to kind of like OPM, except I didn't know about OPM really at the time either. It was just like credit. I had good credit. I just started calling up banks and figuring out, hey, with this credit line, can I use it to actually purchase properties or get the cash somehow? And that's how we made it work.
Dude, there's so much value in that story alone. You've always heard this, right? And people listening have heard this. Your mess is your message. And so,
Mm-hmm.
guys, if that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what's going to. You guys got to understand where Brandon's coming from here. And by the way, if you're listening to this live, please drop in where you're coming in from. Share this out to people because we're about to get into a whole bunch of good stuff when it comes to credit. So get ready. Brandon, dude, talk to me about this. Talk to me about how you do this with credit. Like, tell me the framework for somebody who doesn't understand how credit works.
Sure.
OPM is other people's money. People in real estate know that term, but talk to me about the credit hack. How does somebody utilize credit to buy real estate?
Yeah. So all real estate investors, for the most part, like really savvy ones, they end up using other people's money, OPM. And even if you have money, it's just the way of going about things. And then you have your money or whatever other assets to be able to back it up as a backup plan. I didn't know about those things. I didn't know, like, my family doesn't have any money. I didn't know any wealthy people at the time. So I didn't think anybody would be willing to trust me with money. So I ended up calling up some of my credit card companies because I didn't know necessarily about relationships. I didn't know too much at the time, but I knew that I had certain credit cards with decent limits, 30, 50,000, because every 6 months I would just constantly keep on asking for a credit line increase and paying off my bills every day. You know, I would use the card and then I would pay it off later on that night. I just got into that routine of doing it. So I had good credit history. I had a good credit score. And long story short, I started seeing these offers in the mail. They were for balance transfers and then cash advance. I had no idea what a cash advance was, but the balance transfers started making sense when I called in. They said, hey, if you already have debt over on a different card, you can use it to pay off and it's at 0% interest for a certain time frame. I was like, that's great, but I don't have any debt. Is there any way that I can just get, you know, the certain credit limit that I have on this card and put it into my bank account so that I can, you know, do this renovation on this home that I just purchased? And I was kind of like manifesting it, right? I didn't necessarily purchase it, but I had it in contract and I knew I had to close. I needed to come up with money and all these other things. So they said, yeah, you know, let me see if we have any promotional deals behind the scenes. They did. They ended up within a day, I had the funds that was normally on my credit card wired into my bank account, and I had it as liquid cash. So fast forward, I've been able to purchase properties with credit cards, complete all my remodels with credit cards, and that has allowed me to stop getting screwed over by contractors because I was doing that in the beginning, like most real estate investors, and it's just been able to kind of scale and snowball over time. But there's definitely several different platforms that you can utilize, like plastic.com, that can help out. But it really just comes down to reaching out to your bank, figuring out what type of promotional deals are going on, and letting them know that you have either a property ready for a renovation, for a home improvement, and that, or along those lines, and that you need liquid cash, but only from your credit cards or lines of credit from the banks.
Okay. So a lot of people may have this preconceived notion that credit is kind of a bad thing if you're not using it responsibly. And so
Mm.
when I got into real estate, many of you may know, I put $50,000 on credit cards to get into to real estate. And I had no idea what was going on at the time. I was just like, kind of, my blinders were on. I was looking forward. I wanted to get into real estate. But what they did is they did exactly that. They put all of this education on this credit line.
Yep.
And then I had the promotional period of 16 months to be able to figure this out.
Yep.
Right. So is that the key, right? Because a lot of people think credit, they think high interest rates and all that. Is the key the promotional periods on those balance transfers?
Yeah. So A lot of people, when they think of credit, they think of high interest rates. They think of paying a ton of interest and that it's the most expensive money. And it can be if you're misusing it, if you're not really like looking for the loopholes, right? But at the end of the day, all these banks want to do is lend to you. And how they kind of steal business from other banks and capture your attention is by offering some of the 0% interest or higher benefits, higher rewards, with the hopes in mind that one day you're going to screw up and they're going to get some extra interest off of you. It really is. It's pretty sad, but they're playing the numbers game as well, and they know the statistics behind it. So they can offer certain, benefits to get to capture a new client over time. What I would say is I never look at the interest rate. And that might like shock a lot of people out there because I never need to worry about the interest rate, whether it's at 0% interest or not. There's different techniques, different ways that you can move money around or just simply not have to pay interest in many ways. What I have learned over time in comparison to when I first started using credit in real estate that will help a lot of people here without making the same mistake that I did is by utilizing business credit. If you're using business credit, then a majority of business credit isn't actually showing up underneath your personal. Therefore, if you're doing the BRRRR strategy like I do, then you can hide the debt for the time being underneath the business credit. You can do your cash out refinance, your score stays up, your utilization still low as long as you're focusing on the personal side, it's low. But you could be maxed out on the business side and they're not going to necessarily know about it. I had issues in the beginning because I was doing the BRRRR strategy. I had a ton of equity and I was like, guys, how do you not see how plain and simple this is? And they could see it, but they physically couldn't lend on it because my score dropped 100 points and I was at 80% utilization. Even though I had a ton of equity that once they cashed out, I could pay it off. So I learned over time that I need to get either bigger credit limits, which that's what I started focusing on. And then shortly after, something actually clicked and I realized, hey, business credit, I can actually start hiding more.
Dude, that's awesome. So it blew me away when I first heard about you teaching people how to get so much credit. And it didn't even dawn on me that how important those relationships were with those banks before you try to go apply. Obviously, having a good credit to get those cards is important.
Sure.
But talk about that relationship. Like you're big on that relationship, just like with a private lender, just like with anybody, right?
Correct. Yeah, and so many people sleep on this, and that's why I'm so big on it because, of course, like somebody that wants to defend themselves on this, saying, well, you don't need a bank account with all banks to be able to get a credit card approved or a line of credit. That is 100% correct. You do not need to. But what I would say is it helps out your odds of approval tremendously by having a bank relationship. And when it comes down to a bank relationship, there's three categories, right? It's the timestamp is what I call it. It's when you originally actually opened up that bank account, and the longer the better, right? If you just opened one today, then it's a very new relationship. They don't necessarily know you yet. But if you've been with them for the last 5 or 10 years, then they can see, hey, he's been with us for a long time. That's a strong relationship. Second, how many products and services you're actually taking advantage of with this bank. They have a ton of products, a ton of different services, personal loan, business loan, credit cards, auto loans, mortgages, etc. And all the more products and services that you're taking advantage of from a bank, the more they are going to feel very territorial that, hey, he's probably not working with anybody else. He doesn't have any bank accounts with anybody else because all of his products and services, he's taking advantage of more than the average consumer out there. So they feel really good about that. They are more incentivized to be able to do well by you so that you don't take all your products and services and cancel them with them and move to somebody else. And then thirdly is the overall bank account balance. There's internal ratings that put you in a better stance the more money that's in there, as well as the more money that's circulating. They have internal ratings. So all of that has a big compound effect on the bank relationship as a whole. And if you really want to simplify it in this analogy, think of it like, if you had two people that came up to you that were asking for $1,000 from you, one is a total stranger that you have no relationship with, and then the other one is possibly a neighbor that you see on a regular basis. You don't necessarily talk to, but you constantly see, you wave to every once in a while, and they seem nice. You might have talked to them for a second, met their mom or something like that. They seem like decent human beings. Who do you feel that you're actually going to feel more comfortable lending the money to? The banks are in the position of lending money, but they want to make sure that it's a low risk and it's a calculated risk so that they are going to get their money back, plus ideally interest. And that's when it comes down to open up that bank account, start building the relationship. It will do you so well over the long period of time.
Yeah, it's so obvious, but when you don't really know the game,
Yeah.
it's not something that you really just think to do. It
Yeah.
sounds silly, right? It's like, oh, if I want to have a good relationship with someone, I make the extra effort and go out of my way. It's like, well, that's obvious, but what about with banks?
Yeah. And also, it's like there's 4,300 plus banks nationwide, and there's 25,000 plus banks worldwide. They all want to lend to us.
Yeah.
But everybody, the consumer is going to say, well, what do you want me to do? Like have, 4,300 banks nationwide? Not necessarily, that's going to take a long time, but at the same time, yes, like I do encourage to have as many bank accounts as possible so that you can build up those relationships. And if you're doing so, you keep organized, put it in a spreadsheet, the date you opened it, the bank account name, how many products and services you're taking advantage of, balances, all these different things. Hit the sign up bonuses. There's so many sign up bonuses. I've made $5,000 just liquid cash as bonuses for the last 2 years, just opening up new bank account relationships that I needed to anyway. So it's like you can capitalize on this stuff and set yourself up for success. But a good rule of thumb here that you definitely want to take notes on is do not open up more than one bank account per week to every 2 weeks. That will set you up for more success instead of check systems potentially red flagging you for opening up too many too soon.
Yeah, man, that's a good point. And did you guys hear that? Like Brandon's getting paid to open up these bank accounts by just listening to what they want, what's important to the bank.
Yeah.
Maybe it's $5,000 in the account for X amount of days. Maybe usually it's 2 months, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, it's usually 60 to 90 days. Yep.
Okay, so then that's free money in itself. But what I really love that I really want to talk about is the status matching, the points. Like we're just scratching the surface here. So let's talk about that. And real quick question that somebody had before you get into that is American Express, Chase, do you consider those as a bank? As banks?
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. And there's going to be certain banks that you don't necessarily like American Express or Capital One or Discover. They don't have a bank branch for opening up a checking account. However, they do online. So just look at those. If you're trying to get into American Express and your credit score is low right now, or you have some late payments, open up a checking account online. It will suit you well in the next several months.
Beautiful, beautiful. So let's talk about the power of credit. So let's just pretend that somebody, because there's 4 parts to this, right? You teach on the 4 pillars basically of building credit. Maybe just touch on that.
Sure.
And then touch on building in the building phase of status matching and actually where it gets really fun, paying for vacations and those types of things.
Yeah. So I love the building part of everything, but let me break down the 4 so that you guys can fully understand this and grasp this. If you're taking notes, you definitely want to write this down. How we look at credit and identify credit is a 4-step process. So number 1 is going to be educate and training. That's where it really just comes down to identifying how the banks, how the lenders, how the credit bureaus are actually looking at us and judging us as a consumer. So it's really, I call it basically like learning how to play real life Monopoly and understanding how the banks and lenders are judging us so we can play the game. Number 2 is fix credit. And I don't care if you're macho man with the mid 800s or you're in the low 3s. It doesn't matter. Everybody needs a little bit of fixing. And that could just be as simple as updating your personal identification info, removing some old addresses, cleaning up the employer info, removing phone numbers and so forth. So, but long story short, it's very important to fix credit before building it. Okay. If you have any late payments, collections, derogatory remarks, hard inquiries, clean that stuff up. It can be done as soon as a couple hours, up to 10 business days, and in some worst case scenarios, a few short months. With that being said, afterwards, that third part is building. And that's where we can get you to the 800 FICO score in less than 30 days, which is amazing. And then after that, it really starts focusing on doing a mass apply. What a mass apply is a application sequence where, if done correctly, you can actually get a 90% approval rate, where you get anywhere from 10, 20, 30, or even 40 plus credit cards all at once within a 30-day time frame. So it's pretty badass, to be honest. So after you get all those credit lines, you can do this every 6 months, by the way, for yourself, for your friends, for your family members. That's when we start focusing on the business credit. And that can just be a huge snowball, a huge compound effect where within just a few short months, about 4 to 5 month time frame, you can start building up some serious credit lines. And within 12 months, you can get up to 7 figures in funding. So once you get all this funding underneath the build side, that's when the fourth part is going to be leverage. It's time to take all this capital and put it to work, just like the banks do. So we're flipping the script on the banks. We give our money to the banks. They give us 0.000 nothing percent back, right? And then they lend it back out to us on personal loans, auto, mortgage, etc. They make a 500% ROI each and every time. It's crazy, in the billions. So it's time to really get all this capital at 0% interest and put it to work. We purchased properties, we've done hard money lending, private money lending, started e-com stores, crypto. Turo. There's so many different ways that you can put your money to work. And it really just comes down to what you're passionate about. Like, what are you really excited about? What kind of goals and dreams, the creative side of you, instead of putting that to sleep because of the lack of money, start, bringing it back up to life and realize that if money was ever the issue, it doesn't need to be anymore because you'll have the capital to actually put to work. So you just need to be a good steward of the money at the end of the day. There's life insurance policies that, we do for arbitrage as well. And so many different awesome techniques. And part of leverage as well that can be really fun is the travel hacking. And that's where, you're getting the free travels, the free flights, the free car rentals, the upgrades, the penthouse suite instead of the manager special, with just ocean views and your own private pool and limo service, like a bunch of crazy, awesome experiences that Jennifer and I have experienced over the years simply by utilizing, leveraging, and educating ourselves on credit.
Wow. The amount of value, man, here is just absolutely insane. And it gets me excited because people need to know about this. What's possible? Like, you gotta dream big. Like, if you have these skill sets, nobody can ever take that away from you. And that is what attracted me to your group, to be honest with you, man. When you're like, oh, you gotta have some skin in the game. I'm a firm believer in, like, you do have to have a little bit of skin in the game. But what's spending some money on some education to learn this kind of stuff, guys, when the upside is 6, 7 figures worth of funding? Like, what could that do for you and your family?
Oh yeah.
And it was a no-brainer for me. So I'm excited to be a part of the group, man. It's super awesome. But talk to me about your leveraging to use this for BRRRR. I read something in your bio about your worst project being a 60% cash on cash return. That's just ridiculous. And that's amazing, right? So talk to us about how you're able to do that. Are you just taking this credit and then recycling your cash out once you get the project finished?
Correct. Yeah. So at the end of the day, like some of our best clients as well have just some crazy, crazy testimonies. Like one of them for just in his first 30 days, he ended up turning some of the education that we were teaching him for Credit Counsel Elite. He turned it into $72,000 just in his first 30 days with just, about 10 days worth of his own education diving into our course and taking action on this stuff. So it's crazy. Helping out more people just on the credit repair side. But as far as like the BRRRR strategy and getting huge ROIs very quickly, it comes down to, and anybody out there that doesn't know the BRRRR strategy, it stands for, it's a B and then 4 R's. So buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. And the whole goal with that is to do basically like a quick fix and flip, except instead of selling it at the end, we're going to do a cash out refinance with the bank. So we get all of our money back or close to it and have little to no money into it, a small mortgage, and then we pay off the credit cards and keep it for the long run for the cash flow. So over in Ohio, for example, it's very high for cash flow, less on appreciation. Out here, it's like flip-flopped in San Diego. But thankfully, we do Airbnb, so it still cash flows very well. But when it comes down to Ohio, some of my mortgages are like $200-$300, but they rent out for a little over $1,000 per month. So it adds up. And what I would tell you is that doing the BRRRR strategy, we buy it with credit. If you can do it with business credit at 0% interest, buy it with credit, and then complete your renovations with credit cards at 0% interest, stack up a bunch of points, have the protection, and afterwards take it back to the banks, rent it out, get a good qualified tenant in there, take it back to the banks and get a new mortgage on it, a cash out refinance, get all that extra cash back, pay off the credit cards within the time being at the 0% interest. In many cases, you'll see anywhere from 6 months, 12 months, 15, 18, or 22 months at 0% interest. And you really just need about 12 months max in most cases. If it's your first deal, then give yourself a little bit of a buffer and try to just have backup plans. I'm a very firm believer in backup plans. It will always set you up for success. I truly believe that many people that fail with real estate, it comes down to them simply not having enough backup plans. Like they have their plan A in place, and then when that doesn't work out, then they jump to like plan Z right away, and it's like they're selling quickly, they're losing money, and so forth, instead of coming up with a couple other strategies just in case to still make it profitable.
I love it, man. So with the business funding, this is kind of a question that I'm thinking for myself.
Yeah.
Like if I get a business credit card with say $20,000, $30,000 of credit on there, are these banks typically offering a 0% for 12 to 16 months? Because I would be worried about having to, if I let's just say I don't have a huge amount of money, this is my first one ever.
Sure.
Am I going to have to make some payments minimum probably throughout that process, or am I going to be able to balance that transfer that balance? Do they offer that for the business side?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when you're taking out a 0% interest offer from a credit card, you do need to be aware that there is still going to be minimum payments due. And I've seen it's usually 1 to 3% of whatever your balance is. But when you have very high balances, and depending on the company itself, I've seen up to actually 17% of what the total balance is. So you really want to be mindful of that and be prepared for that, so that you're not, putting your foot in your mouth, going all in, and then not having enough reserves to be able to keep your monthly payments. What I would say is, if you need $50,000 for a real estate or an investment type of opportunity, and I would shoot for the moon and pull out $80,000 just in case. Just make sure that the numbers make sense and have some reserves so that you can have the extra available cash to be able to pay down on it. Also know that not all credit cards come with the 0% interest. the more elite of a type of card it is, such as like flight cards or insurance cards or other like charge cards and so forth, and other high benefits and rewards, master elite and so forth, they will start not having the 0% interest offer because it comes with so many benefits. But a lot of what you do want to realize is that every bank has very similar products to each other. They all have a student loan or a student credit card. They all have a 0% interest card. They all have a basic card. They have a high cash rewards, a travel card, and so forth. So there's not necessarily, I get this question a lot, like, what is the best card to get? It's such an open-ended question because every bank has its own card for another competitor. So you can pull up 10 banks. I can pull out the same card from each one that is very, very similar. And they're going to be slightly different, very minimal.
Got it. Somebody's asking on here, how can you start when you already have credit debt?
It's a great question. Yeah. It depends on so many things. So it depends on where your utilization is. It depends on, do you have any late payments, derogatory remarks, and so forth. If it's just high utilization, then I would recommend getting to a point where you can hide it and transfer it over to business credit. Okay. And there's ways that you can either do it through manufacturer spending, or you could take out a small, quick loan from either like a private loan, personal loan, and be able to pay off that debt and kind of hide it and put it over to the business side shortly after. But you want to get to a point that you can do a mass apply. When you can do a mass apply, get more credit lines, your utilization goes lower, and you can get business credit to be able to hide this current debt. That's where you want to get to that position so that you can kind of hide the current debt. The only way to do so, though, is to make sure that your utilization is low right now. So there's many techniques to do it. It's kind of hard. It's not hard. It's just it takes more time explaining it and sitting down with the individual to know exactly where they're at.
Yeah, and we'll give you guys an opportunity to maybe further pick Brandon's brain at the end of this here.
Yeah.
So great question though, guys. Anybody
That's a
else have
really
any
good
questions?
question. I love
Please
that.
drop them in the comments for sure, and we'll get into that. But I think the moment that all of us have been really waiting for, man, is to talk about this big juicy deal. Like
Oh, yeah.
you don't hear about people making like almost $500,000 on a property flip.
Yeah.
So let's get into that. I want to inspire some people because my goal was to do a 6-figure flip, and
Yep.
this is well beyond just $100,000. So talk to us about how you found the deal, how'd you fund it, those types of things.
Yeah. So I don't believe in luck at all, but at the same time, there's got to be some kind of luck on this one. I definitely believe in favor, and I have a lot of favor in my life, to say the least. God's been very good to me. What I can tell you is that we were doing some yard work at my own personal house with Jennifer and her younger brothers. We were trying to show them some work ethic. They're young kids that play games a lot. So we were like, let's get these kids on a Saturday to do some work outside. Right when we were raking some leaves, I saw across the street there was an agent putting out a sign and had an open door. So I was like, looks like an open house. Let's go check it out. So when I pulled up, she thought that I was a scheduled client. I wasn't, but he was late, so I was early, and I got in there and just started building a relationship. It comes down to relationships. I cannot stress that enough, whether it's bank related or real estate related. I just started, over time, and this isn't going to happen right from the start, but over time, you're going to learn that there is a lingo to real estate. There is And that can make people feel more comfortable knowing that, hey, this person is talking the talk. They know what to say. They know the concerns that I'm as a seller or agent are thinking. So I knew what to say to be able to make them feel relaxed and calm, that I could perform and actually close on the deal. So I got them to like me very quickly because I have several other properties in the neighborhood and I'm a real estate investor and so forth. So it was a trustee situation. So less emotion attached to it. They had it listed for $899. I basically let her know that, hey, I'll let you represent me because I know she would double up on her commission. So she would be more incentivized to get the trustee to take care of her as well and go for that offer. And I basically let her know, like, whatever you need, just let me know what is it going to take to get the deal. And out here in California, it's like the wild, wild west. Like there's a lot of who to be able to get the deal. So long story short, I said I'd put down 50,000 hard right away, no contingencies, close in 10 days. That's very attractive when you got 12. It was 13 other offers at the time within 2 days. And it shows a confidence level and it shows that you can perform. And if not, they walk away with 50 grand in a couple of days, can relist it to somebody else. And then I offered 850. So 50,000 over. She told me I needed to come up a little bit and I was like, perfect. I'll do 960. And that's what it took. So I closed on the deal for 960,000.
Hold on just a second.
Yeah.
When you were looking at this deal, guys, listen, first of all, this isn't a super competitive market.
Yes.
Houses were flying off the shelf.
Yeah.
And the price point, a lot of people, especially listening from maybe the Midwest, may have a hard time wrapping their head around this price point. Yes. But what did you see in this deal where you're like, yeah, I can offer 50,000 above ask price or whatever it was?
Yeah.
And was it just the pure upside? And I guess you can finish going into what you were going to say.
Yeah, it's knowing your market. It's like knowing confidently the numbers and what things can go for and so forth. I purchased my own property right across the street for 960 the year before that. It is a duplex, with that being said. But I know what it appraised for. I know what I know where the market was heading. I know about another property that we were in contract with 2 houses down. Like I know our market. And I'm glad that you brought up like the Midwest and nationwide different markets and the numbers fluctuating. People would be freaking out and shaking in their boots right now if hearing some of these numbers. Like the average price in San Diego right now is $1 million for a home. They just announced it a couple weeks ago on the news. I don't believe the news at all, so take that with your own do your own due diligence. But with that being said, it's all just numbers. Whether it's an Ohio property that we purchased for $5,000 or a property out here that's $2 million. It's all about the numbers and just doing what is it going to cost to purchase, the holding cost, the renovation, what will the ARV be afterwards, and be conservative. And then it doesn't matter if it's $1 billion. It's like, it's all just, it's a number. So don't get attached to those high numbers.
In that confidence, guys, it comes in time. Brandon's been doing this for a while. And so he knew that this was a deal, which is why he was okay with 50,000 hard. He knew exactly what he was getting himself into. And to be able to close in 12 days on a 900,000 plus house is pretty impressive. So how did you fund the property?
Yeah. So, and like you said, it comes with time. In the very beginning, I used to do a bunch of contingencies, a bunch of ways that you can weasel out of a deal. I would try doing FHA financing. It's like, that is not, I put in for 2 years, I put in over 30 plus offers. Every single one got denied. So that's where I started investing in Ohio down the line because it was just a different market. But you got to know what is it going to take. And I know when there's 12 other offers on the table and they're doing financing or whatever it may be, there are several other with all cash as well, but they had a couple contingencies. So I always do no cash or all cash, no contingencies, very, close very quickly, and a high earnest money deposit down. So they know that I am so above and beyond serious, and that I will close on this deal.
And I think the key is you didn't just come in there and say, "Hey, agent, you can represent me. Here's my offer. Take it or leave it." Like, how many people you think came in there and just like gave this agent an offer without building some rapport, maybe having a
Yeah,
conversation, getting some feedback? Like, how important is that in itself
so
to get
important.
that deal?
Yeah. And she didn't know me. So it's like she was on, she was testing me out as well for the next couple days. She was like a little nervous, like, God, is this young guy going to be able to perform? He talked good, but I don't know, is he going to be able to do it? And when you act quickly, wire funds in quick, sign documents quick, then they can start seeing that, like, oh, this guy is serious. Um and yeah, we're like best of friends now. She sends me deals on a regular basis. She prioritized working with me over others because she knows when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And so she's got full confidence in me, which is awesome.
That's
Uh,
right.
so when it comes down to that deal, we have great OPM. We have some hard money lenders and private money lenders that we use, as well as credit. In this one, we just use hard money and then our own credit as well to be able to complete the renovation or the purchase and renovation. The loan that they did was $729,000, 8% interest, and 1.5 for the points. We had to come up with a couple $100,000, and then the renovation was $120,000 for the remodel. It took 90 days. We listed it for 1.399, and I was a little nervous about that. I was like, I don't know if we tried some different finishing touches and like the color on the outside. We got a little spicy on this one, and we always try to do a little something different to see how people react. But needless to say, I felt a little nervous about it. Once again, just God's favor in our life, and it ended up going. We had a small bidding war on it. There's 3 people very interested, 2 people to the final end, and we actually picked not the highest offer. We picked one that was 25,000 less, and it came down to, and just to let you guys know, it ended up selling for $1,610,000, so $210,000 over asking price.
Unbelievable.
The reason why we took not the highest offer was because we felt more connected, like better. I don't want to say like better human beings, but we just felt like they were like a good fit for the neighborhood. We live in the neighborhood. They had a newborn, same like the neighbor right next to them and across the street from them have a newborn as well. So I felt like it was going to be good for the neighborhood.
Yep.
And so I didn't want to be all greedy about the money, go for another 25K, when I just didn't feel like it was necessarily right. And we were already walking away with, a very good lump sum.
Man, there's a couple things that you said in that. I'm just thinking the preconceived notions that all investors are greedy. Like,
Oh
that
yeah.
is the furthest thing from greedy. You possibly left some money on the table because of the relationship, right? I'm guessing these people sold you to some extent on how bad they wanted this house. And this exact scenario happened with us buying our house that we live in right now.
Yeah.
The people, like, they just liked us, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you have a kid, you like golf," like these types of things.
Yep.
And we got the deal because of it. But
There's definitely emotional connection behind it. As much as, especially myself, like I really like to make sure that it is just, I'm thinking with my business lenses on, and I'm not getting too emotional into it. When you're picking your neighbor, it's a little different.
oh yeah, for sure. So guys, I don't know if you just heard Brandon, but like that's insane. 475,000 net profit at the end of the day. I just can't. That's so life changing, man. And you, like you said, you were blessed.
Yeah.
You're buying your luck, and absolutely amazing. Congratulations on
Appreciate you.
that.
It's
Incredible.
also the crazy market that we're in. Like we have another deal that we're probably going to make a little over that, probably closer to 700,000. And a few months ago, before it started getting a little weird, we could have potentially made it. I was really anticipating to turn this into potentially $1 million profit, and we'll still see. Who knows? But at this point, the comps are very conservative at most likely right around 700,000. So it's just one of those crazy times that we're in right now. And the more that you get out there, the more that you build those relationships. The next one that we're going to make money on, that one was a pocket listing. So it wasn't on the MLS. They brought in 5 investors, and I competed against those 5, and I got the contract. So it's just who do you know and how you're building those relationships.
Yeah, man. And what I love the most about it is just the relationships. You're not going out, and maybe you are a little bit, but I don't. It doesn't sound like it. You're not going out and spending $50,000 a month to get these deals on marketing.
No, but what I would say is that I'm happy to pay, if it's a good deal and the numbers still work for me, 40 to 50,000 on to the wholesaler that brings me the deal, and that's what we paid. But I'm not a wholesaler myself, and that's a whole different business. Like that's a whole nother strength that I personally don't focus on. I know that it would suit me well, but I don't want to go down that path. I want to stay laser beam focused in my strategy. And if I can just get my brand out there and my awareness and let people know over time, it wasn't instant, but we've been doing it for 7 years now, So over years, we've been able to get the track record and let people know that we can perform, and therefore they'll send us deals and keep us in mind.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So if you guys have any deals in San Diego, maybe that you're looking to wholesale, or maybe Ohio, like hit Brandon up. If you're wholesaling in the Midwest, hit me up too. I'd be a buyer for your deals. And at the end of the day, it's that abundant mindset, right? It doesn't matter what the next person makes as long as it makes sense for what you're trying to accomplish, and it's a win-win, which is amazing.
Yeah, I've had certain friends wholesale deals that are making 100,000, and I am so happy for them. Like if the numbers still work out that we're going to make a couple 100,000, by all means, like jack it up. Let's go.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, like kudos to you for getting it under contract at such a unbelievable deal. Like that's you're worth every penny behind it. And you also need to realize that nationwide, as a wholesaler, the money that it takes and the time and energy to get something over in Ohio might be a couple thousand maybe, versus out here it's costing anywhere from 6 to 10,000 to actually get your deal under contract. So it's of course going to be more profit because it's more expensive. It's higher numbers.
Higher risk, higher reward. It's the name of the game, man.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to say I'm actually going to be launching a Google ad campaign in California. So I'm ready to do a deal together, man. That's going to be...
Dude, let's do this. Yes,
yeah,
I love it.
And
I really love, because you're part of Credit Counsel Elite, I love doing deals with other people like in the family, right? So it's something so freaking rewarding to be able to do business with like good friends and buddies and learn together and really just grow together. It's so much fun. I love it.
100%, completely agree. Guys, if you have any questions for Brandon before we get out of here, drop them in the comments. He's dropped so much value here and so thankful for that. And so show him some love, smash the like, smash the heart, share it to some friends. That's the only way we're going to grow here together. And other than that, Brandon, man, where can people learn more about you? And I'll drop some links in the comments here as well for those people wondering.
Yeah. So you guys can always reach out and connect with me on Instagram. It's Brandon Elliot Investments. Otherwise, Facebook.com/Brandon Elliot Investor. If you're looking for any like credit repair done for you services, I'm not a huge advocate on that. I'd rather teach you. But if you do need us to do it for you, you can check out creditrepairmobile.com. Otherwise, if you really want to like take this stuff to the next level for Credit Counsel Elite and really get educated on the 4 pillars that we were talking about: the educate, the fix, the build, the leverage, then check out creditcounselelite.com. It's www.creditcounselelite.com. It will truly like transform your life as long as you take action in it. And what I can tell you is like, even if you're going, like if you have small goals right now, once you start seeing the opportunities, it will unleash so much, and it'll really open up your eyes to the full possibilities of what you can do with credit and scale and create generational wealth. So a lot of fun things in the mix with that. You can also check out our podcast. It's Ready, Set, Go, Real Estate Investing Podcast. New episode every single Monday drops. So yeah, check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot, man. Good stuff. And guys, yeah, so much good information. And he's not BSing you. Like everything he says he's doing, and so much value from the group that I'm a part of. His podcast is awesome. I was featured on it, so
Yeah.
naturally. No, I'm just kidding.
It's the best
but
of
no,
the best because of it.
seriously, like amazing stuff, man. And so, what would you say is like one last final thought, piece of advice that you'd like to leave people with here?
Yeah. So what I've noticed over the years of showing people, to not give up on their dreams and not put real estate or any of your dreams on the back burner, because everybody realizes that you can get financial freedom from real estate, and they want to chase their goals, their dreams. They want to open that restaurant or travel hack and travel the world. They always believe they need to make a ton of money in what they're doing right now, and stay focused in that. And that, follow your heart by all means. I don't want to discourage you from that. But what I would say is you can, if you really transition your mindset on focusing on your goals and dreams now, then you can get there. When there's a will, there's a way. I'm a very, very firm believer in that. And for me and so many of our clients and students along the way, credit has been that tool to be able to get there. So I don't know if it's right for you. I really don't. But what I can tell you is that I've seen it happen day in, day out with so many people nationwide, thousands of people at this point that we've spoken on stages from and help people and get all these crazy testimonies coming back. So if you really focus on credit and we can help you get there, then you can hit all of your goals and dreams a heck of a lot faster than you would naturally think. And many people truly, like, they put credit on the back burner until you need it, until it's like, hey, I need credit fixed like today. And it's like, come on, man. we might be able to do it. I don't want to say like it's impossible. There might be some techniques, but don't put it on the back burner until the last second. Really prepare yourself and prep yourself for your goals and your future now. The best time to invest in yourself is not like, ideally 20 years ago, but if not, we could start today, so that's what I would recommend.
I love it, man. So good. Thank you so much, Brandon, man. I appreciate it. Guys, go check out his stuff. It's amazing. And until next time, we'll see you there.
Mike, you're a boss. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Absolutely.